In the depths of an alien jungle, where the trees twisted and loomed like giants, the ground trembled underfoot. The air was thick, filled with the scent of unknown flowers and the sound of distant creatures calling out in the darkness. A young human, barely more than a teenager, walked cautiously through the dense undergrowth. Their boots made a soft crunch as they stepped on the leaves, the only sound in an otherwise eerily quiet world. They had been trekking for hours, trying to find a way out of this strange land. But the jungle seemed endless. The human's name was Keon, a brave soul with the heart of an adventurer. Keon had always been fascinated by the unknown, always drawn to the mysterious and the unexplored. They had been part of a team sent to map uncharted territories on this faraway planet. But something had gone wrong. The team had been scattered by an unknown force, and Keon had found themselves alone in this strange world. Their communication devices had been damaged, and there was no way to call for help. So they walked, hoping to find a way out. Keon paused for a moment, wiping the sweat from their brow. The humidity was overwhelming, and the thick canopy overhead blocked out most of the sunlight. As Keon surveyed the area, their sharp eyes caught sight of something strange, a shadow moving quickly among the trees. Keon's heart skipped a beat. They weren't alone. Before they could react, a low growl echoed through the jungle. Keon froze, their breath caught in their chest. The sound was deep, like a predator's warning. It came from behind them, but when Keon turned around, nothing was there. The growl came again, this time much closer. Keon's pulse raced as they slowly spun around, their hand reaching for the weapon strapped to their side. They didn't know what kind of creature it was, but they were ready. From the shadows emerged a figure, tall and imposing. It was alien, unlike anything Keon had ever seen. The creature had smooth green skin, and its eyes glowed with an eerie yellow light. Its body was covered in intricate patterns, almost like tattoos, which seemed to shimmer in the low light. It had a strong muscular build, and its mouth twisted into a grin that sent a chill down Keon's spine. "You've wandered too far, human," the alien spoke, its voice deep and menacing, like the growl of a beast. "Why aren't you trembling? One word from me, and my pet will devour you." Keon didn't flinch. They had faced danger before, and fear was something they had long since learned to control. They stood tall, meeting the alien's gaze without a hint of fear. "I don't scare easily," Keon said, their voice steady. The alien seemed surprised by Keon's lack of fear, took a step closer, and Keon could hear the faint rustling of something large moving in the shadows. The alien's grin grew wider. "You think you can stand against me? Against my pet?" It sneered, gesturing to the darkness behind it. "You are nothing." Keon's eyes flicked to the shadows. There, emerging from the darkness, was the source of the Grauza, massive creature. Easily 10 times the size of Keon. It had scales that reflected the dim light like polished metal. Its teeth were sharp, almost like daggers, and its eyes glowed with an unnatural hunger. The creature's claws scraped the ground as it moved, its muscles rippling under its sleek armored skin. Keon's heart raced, but they didn't back down. They had faced wild creatures before and nothing like this, but they had learned to survive. "I'm not afraid of your pet," Keon said, narrowing their eyes, "and I'm not afraid of you." The alien's expression darkened. It stepped closer, its eyes narrowing as it studied Keon with growing interest. "You should be," the alien warned. "My pet has devoured entire cities before. It has torn through the strongest of warriors. What makes you think you can stand against it?" Keon stood their ground, their hands clenched at their sides. They could feel the weight of the alien's words, but they refused to show any fear. "I don't need to stand against it," Keon said quietly. "I just need to outsmart it." The alien's eyes narrowed further, clearly intrigued. It was used to seeing fear in its enemies, and yet this human was different. They didn't cower before the alien or its pet. The creature looked at its pet, then back at Keon, its mind turning. What kind of human was this? Why didn't they show the fear that should have been instinctive? Keon, however, was not focused on the alien's words. They had seen creatures like this before, creatures that relied on fear to control others. But Keon knew one thing. Fear could be conquered. If they could stay calm, if they could think clearly, they might just be able to survive suddenly. The massive creature lunged forward, its claws reaching for Keon. The ground beneath them shook as it moved, but Keon was ready. With a swift motion, they darted to the side, narrowly avoiding the creature's grasp. The alien growled in frustration, commanding the beast to stop. The creature paused, but its eyes remained locked on Keon. "Hungry for a fight? You're quick," the alien remarked, "but you won't escape." Keon's eyes glinted with determination. "We'll see about that." As the alien and its pet prepared to strike again, Keon knew they had to act fast. The jungle was full of dangers, but it was also full of opportunities. It was just a matter of finding the right moment to turn the tables. The alien stood tall, its towering form blocking the path ahead, while its monstrous pet loomed ominously behind. The tension in the air was thick, every second stretched to its breaking point. Keon stood motionless, eyes locked onto the alien, waiting for it to make the next move. The ground beneath them seemed to vibrate with the creature's growing frustration. The alien's eyes glowed brighter, sinister gleam of amusement playing across its sharp features. "You're more stubborn than I expected," the alien mused, its voice low and full of menace. "You think you can simply defy me, a creature so insignificant, standing before me like an equal? Do you have any idea of the power I wield? The power my pet commands?" The massive creature behind the alien growled in agreement, its claws scraping against the dirt. It was a terrifying beast, almost otherworldly in its appearance. Its body was built like a tank, its skin glistening with a dark metallic sheen. Keon could feel the creature's hot breath, its powerful muscles rippling with every movement. The air seemed to crackle with the promise of violence. But still, Keon remained calm. "You've got power," Keon said, their voice steady and unwavering, "but power doesn't scare me. It just makes me more determined to stand my ground." The alien's eyes narrowed, intrigued by Keon's unshakable confidence. It took a step closer, its face inches from Keon's. "You speak boldly for someone who has no hope of escaping," the alien taunted. "You have no idea what kind of creature you're up against. My pet has ripped through entire battalions, crushed armies, and wiped out entire civilizations. One word from me and you'll be nothing more than a stain on the ground. You should tremble, human. You should beg for mercy." But Keon didn't tremble. They didn't even flinch. Instead, they raised their chins slightly, meeting the alien's intense gaze with quiet defiance. "I've faced worse than your pet," Keon said, calmly taking a step forward. "I've seen things that would make your so-called pet look like a harmless puppy. Your threats don't scare me, and neither do you." The alien's features twisted in confusion, a flicker of doubt crossing its mind. For the first time, it wasn't sure what to make of the human standing before it. No one ever spoke like this to it. No one had ever dared challenge its authority. It had destroyed entire civilizations with ease, and yet this human stood unbowed, almost daring the alien to strike. "You're either incredibly brave or incredibly foolish," the alien said, its voice dripping with disdain. "Either way, you're about to regret your decision." The alien stepped back, signaling its pet to move forward. The beast's massive form loomed even larger now, its jaws opening to reveal rows of teeth like jagged knives. Its growls were deafening, and the ground trembled under its weight as it began to advance toward Keon, its eyes glowing with hunger. But Keon didn't move. They didn't even flinch. Instead, Keon took a deep breath, steadying themselves. Creature was huge, yes, but they had faced creatures that were far more dangerous. It wasn't the size of the threat that mattered. It was the mind behind the action. Keon knew that. And right now, they needed to outthink this creature, not outmuscle it. The alien watched, amused. It hadn't expected Keon to stand their ground so firmly. "You'll regret this," the alien warned, its voice growing colder. "My pet has no mercy." As the massive creature lunged forward, Keon moved with lightning speed, dodging to the side with a swift roll. The pet's claws swiped through the air where Keon had just been standing, missing by mere inches. The alien's expression twisted into a frown. It had expected the human to react with fear, to run, to make a mistake. But Keon was calculating, precise in their movements. The creature, now snarling in frustration, circled Keon, its glowing eyes locked onto the human, determined to strike. But the more it circled, the more Keon seemed to understand its movements, anticipating every shift in its stance. The alien's amusement began to fade, replaced by a creeping sense of uncertainty. Keon's mind raced. They were outmatched in strength, no doubt about that, but they had something the alien and its pet didn't: intelligence, resourcefulness, and the ability to stay calm under pressure. The alien's pet was a beast of instinct, driven by hunger and aggression. But Keon knew how to exploit those weaknesses. The alien's eyes flicked toward the creature. Then back to Keon. "You're faster than I thought," it said, its tone changing slightly. "But that won't save you. You can't escape." Beast let out a loud, guttural roar, its muscles tensing as it prepared for another attack. But before it could move, Keon did something unexpected. With a sudden, fluid motion, Keon reached into their bag and pulled out a small device, a compact tool that emitted a high-pitched frequency. It was designed to disrupt the neural pathways of creatures like this, momentarily disorienting them. The alien's eyes widened in realization, but it was too late. The creature stopped in its tracks, a growl of confusion rippling from its throat as it staggered back, disoriented by the sudden sound. Keon's plan was working just like they had hoped. "Not so tough now, is it?" Keon said, their voice filled with confidence as they watched the creature struggle. The alien looked furious, but for the first time, it also looked uncertain. The human wasn't scared. They weren't running. And now, they were controlling the situation. Keon's eyes flicked back to the alien, their mind already moving on to the next step. "I think it's time for you to reconsider your options." The alien stood there, silent for a moment. It was now fully aware that this human was not just some helpless prey. There was something different about them, something dangerous. The alien stood still for a moment, watching in stunned silence as its massive pet struggled to regain its composure. The creature's disoriented growls echoed through the jungle, its glowing eyes flickering in confusion. It had never encountered an enemy who could make it falter, let alone a human. For a brief moment, the alien felt a pang of doubt, something it had never felt before. Keon, however, didn't waste the opportunity. It could see the alien's momentary hesitation, and in that instant, Keon knew they had to capitalize on it. They took a slow step forward, their movements calm and deliberate. The creature was regaining its senses, but it was still off balance. Keon didn't fear it, and they weren't about to let it intimidate them. "You think I'm afraid of your pet?" Keon said, their voice ringing clear and steady. The alien's eyes flashed with annoyance, but Keon wasn't done. "I've faced worse. I've seen creatures far more terrifying than your pet. The difference is that they don't get to decide if I live or die." "I do," the alien sneered, its patience wearing thin. "Still don't understand," it hissed. "You can't win this. You don't have the strength to face me or my pet. You've seen what it can do. It will tear you apart." Keon smiled faintly, their eyes never leaving the alien's. "You don't get it. You're relying on fear. But that's not what makes me tremble." The alien's confusion deepened. "What do you mean?" it asked, its voice now tinged with both curiosity and frustration. "I mean," Keon said, shifting their weight slightly as they adjusted their stance, "that I'm not afraid of your threats, not afraid of your pet. I'm definitely not afraid of you." The alien's posture stiffened, clearly irritated by the human's defiance. It took another step forward, closer to Keon, its body exuding aggression. "You dare mock me?" it spat, its voice low and venomous. "You're nothing but an insect to me. I will crush you." But Keon's calmness only seemed to infuriate the alien further. The alien's lips curled into a malicious grin, its eyes gleaming with cold fury. "Very well, human," it said, its voice turning even more menacing. "If you will not tremble, then I will make you. I'll break you, and show you the true meaning of fear." In that moment, the alien's gaze shifted to its pet, and without uttering another word, it gave a subtle but forceful gesture. The beast, now recovered from its momentary disorientation, lunged forward again. Its massive claws raked through the air, and Keon, had no choice but to dive out of the way, rolling across the ground with surprising agility. The alien's pet snarled, hot on Kian's trail, but Kian was already on their feet. Moving with the precision of a seasoned survivor, Kian's heart raced, but their mind remained sharp. Every instinct screamed at them to move faster to find an opening, but there was no fear, just a sense of urgency. The creature's claws grazed Kian's arm, leaving a deep scratch, but the pain was secondary. Kian had been wounded before, and this wasn't the first time they'd fought for survival. The alien's laughter rang through the jungle, mocking Kian's efforts. "Foolish human," it taunted. "You think you can outmaneuver my pet? You're nothing more than prey." Kian's eyes burned with a quiet fury. "I've been prey before," they muttered to themselves, their words drowned out by the chaotic sounds of battle. "But I'm not prey anymore." With a quick movement, Kian grabbed a nearby vine, using it to swing up into the trees. The alien's pet snarled in frustration, looking up toward the trees, its massive body twitching with anger. Kian swung higher, leaping from one branch to the next. From this vantage point, they could see everything: the alien, its pet, and the jungle stretching out below them like an endless labyrinth. "You're fast, human," the alien called up to them, a twisted grin spreading across its face. "But you can't escape me." Yeah. Kian didn't reply. Instead, they scanned the surroundings, looking for something, anything, that could give them an advantage. They needed to level the playing field. This wasn't just about survival. It was about proving that they could stand against this alien, that they could outsmart it. As Kian's eyes darted across the landscape, something caught their attention: a clearing in the distance, space that looked to be completely open, devoid of the dense jungle that surrounded them. It was risky, but if they could get there, they might be able to use the environment to their advantage. With a sudden burst of energy, Kian launched themselves from the tree, diving toward the clearing. The pet roared in fury, chasing after them, its enormous body crashing through the underbrush, trying to close the distance. Kian was fast, faster than the beast had anticipated. They landed in the clearing with a roll, their body staying low to the ground as they quickly assessed their surroundings. The aliens stood at the edge of the trees, watching Kian's every move with a mixture of disbelief and frustration. Pet was now at Kian's heels, its eyes blazing with hunger. But Kian had no intention of running anymore. They had led the creature into this open space for a reason. Now, they would see if it would work, without hesitation. Kian reached into their bag and pulled out a small explosive device, something they had been carrying as a last resort. It wasn't much, but it would be enough to disorient the creature, at least long enough to buy them time. "Your move," Kian muttered under their breath, gripping the device tightly. Kian's pulse quickened, but their mind remained as sharp as ever. They held the small explosive device tightly, its sleek form feeling heavier with each passing second. The alien's pet, enraged and confused, snarled as it paced back and forth. At the edge of the clearing, it could smell the human's fear, but Kian had none left to give. Only one thing mattered now: survival. The alien stood in the shadows, watching intently, its glowing eyes never leaving Kian. For a moment there was an eerie silence in the clearing. Even the jungle seemed to hold its breath, as though the entire world was waiting for the next move. Kian, heart racing, took a step back, keeping the creature in their sight. They had to outsmart it. There was no other choice. With a swift motion, Kian activated the device. A loud, piercing sound filled the air, a high-pitched whine that reverberated in the chest, followed by a blinding flash of light. The alien's pet let out a confused, guttural roar, stumbling backward as its senses were temporarily overwhelmed. Its glowing eyes flickered, its body jerking with unnatural movements. For the briefest of moments, it seemed vulnerable. The alien hissed in frustration, its form suddenly stepping into the open, its eyes now ablaze with fury. "What have you done?" But Kian was already on the move. They dove to the ground, rolling into a crouch, their body moving with purpose. While the pet was momentarily stunned, Kian didn't waste a second. They knew this was their chance. The alien's power was not just in its pet. was in its control over the situation, over the fear it instilled. But now there was a shift. For the first time, Kian saw the alien's strength waver. Kian's eyes darted back to the alien. "You talk a lot about power," they said, their voice filled with newfound confidence. "But I've learned something in my travels. Power doesn't come from controlling others. It comes from knowing when to strike, when to take control of your own fate." The alien's expression twisted into something between rage and confusion. It had always been the one in control, the one who dictated the terms of the encounter. But now, the human before it was showing a strength it hadn't anticipated, a strength of mind. Kian's mind raced as they scanned the area. The clearing offered some space, but there were few places to hide. The alien's pet, now regaining its bearings, growled low in its throat, its massive form shaking off the effects of the blast. Kian had one chance to make it out of this alive. It wasn't about brute strength, it was about strategy. The alien watched, its eyes narrowing. "You're a fool, human," it said, its voice dangerously calm. "You think you've won? You've only delayed the inevitable. My pet may be stunned now, but it will recover. When it does, there will be no escape." Kian stood tall, eyes unwavering. He'd already known the alien's pet would recover. This was just the beginning of the real test. "It's not about winning," Kian replied. "It's about proving that you can be defeated, that you're not invincible, and that's something you've forgotten." For the first time, the alien hesitated. The human's words hung in the air like a challenge, an accusation that pierced through its arrogance. It had assumed that fear was its greatest weapon, but this human, this single human, was different. They weren't afraid. They didn't cower before its power. It was as if the very thing the alien relied on, its most dangerous asset, had been stripped away by Kian's resolve. The alien took a step back, confusion and doubt creeping into its features. Its pet, now fully recovered, stood ready to pounce, but it hesitated. The tension in the air was palpable. The creature's confusion mirrored the alien's own uncertainty. "I told you," Kian said, their voice quieter now, but filled with a raw determination. "Fear doesn't control me. It never has." The alien's lips curled into a sneer. But there was a flicker of something deeper in its gaze, something that resembled hesitation. It wasn't used to hesitation. It wasn't used to facing something that didn't bow to its will. But before the alien could react, Kian made their move. They reached into their bag once more, pulling out a small, metallic device, a tracker. It was designed for emergencies, a last resort. The plan was simple: trigger the device to create a signal, one that would bring reinforcements to their location. It wasn't a perfect solution, but it was enough to tip the scales in their favor. As Kian activated the device, the alien's eyes widened. It realized what was happening. It understood that Kian had been playing a longer game. This human wasn't just fighting for survival, they were fighting for something more. "You think your reinforcements will save you?" The alien spat, its anger returning in full force. "You think anyone is coming for you?" Kian didn't answer. They didn't need to. The signal was already sent. And while the alien's words rang in the air, Kian could already feel the power shift. The battle wasn't over, but the balance had begun to tilt in their favor. The real power wasn't in the alien's pets, or in the alien itself. It was in Kian's ability to turn the odds in their favor, to control the fight with nothing more. Then a calm mind and quick actions, Kian stood tall, watching as the alien's frustration turned to fury. The alien had made a critical mistake, had underestimated a human who refused to play by its rules. And now, for the first time, the alien felt the shift of true power. The silence between them stretched for a long, tense moment, broken only by the soft rustle of the jungle. Kian, standing firm, could sense the alien's mounting frustration. The creature before them had relied on fear and brute strength too. Dominate others, but that was no longer enough. Kian's mind raced, calculating the next move with the precision of a seasoned strategist. They had already sent out the distress signal, but now it was about more than just survival. It was about dismantling the alien's arrogance piece by piece. The alien stared at Kian, eyes narrowing with growing suspicion. "You think this is some kind of game?" it snarled, its voice a dangerous growl. "You think your little tricks will save you? You have no idea what you've gotten yourself into." Keon stood silently, their expression unwavering. "You're right about one thing," they said, voice calm. "I don't know what I've gotten myself into, but I know what I'm capable of, and that's all that matters." The alien's eyes flicked toward its pet, which, although still growling, seemed to hesitate, as though sensing something was amiss. The alien's face twisted into a malicious grin. "You still don't understand, do you? This isn't just about you and me. It's not about your tricks or my pet. This is about something much bigger." Keon's brow furrowed, their heart. "Right, steady as ever. What are you talking about?" The alien stepped forward, its voice dropping to a low, chilling tone. "I didn't come here just to test you. I didn't come here to see if you'd run or if you'd fight. I came here because you're the key to something far greater. And now, after all of this, I realize you have no idea what you've been chosen for." Keon's pulse quickened, not from fear, but from a growing sense of confusion and intrigue. "Chosen for what?" The alien let out a cruel laugh, its eyes glinting with something like glee. "You think this is just a random encounter? A chance meeting between you and me? No, human. You're not here by accident. You were brought here because you have something I need." The alien's gaze flicked to Keon's chest, where a small but peculiar pendant hung around their neck, a keepsake from their late mentor. It had been with them for as long as they could remember, a simple trinket. Yet its value was about to become very clear. Keon's hand instinctively went to the pendant, their fingers tightening around the familiar object. "What is it that you think I have?" Keon asked, their voice steady, though they could feel the tension creeping into their veins. The alien's eyes gleamed with unspoken knowledge. "Carry something ancient, an artifact of great power. Your pendant, human, is not just a trinket. It's a key to a weapon of unimaginable destruction. A weapon that, in the wrong hands, could wipe out entire galaxies. It's been lost for centuries, hidden away by forces even I don't fully understand. But now I know it's in your possession, and you're going to give it to me." Keon's eyes widened slightly, but they quickly masked their shock. They had no idea what the alien was talking about. The pendant was just something their mentor had given them before they left Earth, nothing more. But now, hearing the alien's words, everything about this encounter suddenly felt far more dangerous than just a fight for survival. "You're wrong," Keon said, trying to keep their voice calm despite the storm of questions swirling in their mind. "This is just a necklace. There's nothing special about it." As the alien stepped closer, its voice turning cold and insistent. "You don't understand. That pendant is the key to the most powerful weapon the universe has ever known. Forged in the heart of a dying star, a weapon capable of wiping out entire fleets with a single thought. You've been carrying it all this time, unaware of its power. But now that I've found you, I will use it to claim that power." The alien's pet growled menacingly, as though agreeing with its master's words. The creature had regained its full strength and its hunger was palpable. Yet for all its aggression, Keon could sense that it too was waiting for the next move. Keon's mind raced. The pendant, a weapon. They had never believed in stories of ancient alien artifacts, of weapons that could change the fate of entire galaxies. But the alien seemed certain, and the idea that they had been unknowingly carrying something so powerful and so dangerous was both terrifying and mind-boggling. "Why me?" Keon asked, their voice barely a whisper. "Why are you after me? What makes me so special?" The alien's eyes flickered with something that almost looked like pity. "It's not about you, human. It's about the artifact. You just happen to be the one carrying it. The question is whether you'll be willing to give it to me willingly, or if I'll have to take it by force." Keon's thoughts spun wildly. Their mentor had always told them there was more to the universe than what was seen at first glance, that nothing was ever truly random. But Keon had never imagined anything like this. The pendant was just a symbol, a connection to their past. But now, it seemed to be the center of something far larger, something beyond their understanding. Keon took a deep breath, steadying their racing thoughts. The alien might have thought they held all the cards, but Keon had learned long ago that the true strength didn't lie in brute force. It lay in the ability to adapt, to think on your feet. And Keon wasn't about to let themselves be controlled by a force they didn't even understand. "You want the pendant?" Keon said. "There." Voice firm. "You'll have to take it from me." The alien's expression twisted with annoyance. "You don't understand, human. You don't have a choice. You are going to hand it over. There's nothing you can do to stop me." Keon's eyes narrowed, their grip tightening on the pendant. "We'll see about that." The alien's eyes glinted with cold calculation. The true test had only just begun, and Keon had no intention of being anyone's pawn, not now, not ever. The alien's laughter echoed through the clearing, cruel and sharp, like the sound of metal scraping against stone. Keon stood still, their hands still clenched around the pendant, feeling the weight of the decision ahead. The alien had made it clear that it was after more than just a fight, it was after power. But Keon wasn't ready to give up that easily. They had come too far and survived too much to let themselves be intimidated now. "I don't need to take this from you." "Human," the alien sneered, its eyes flashing with deadly intent. "You'll give it to me one way or another. This game of resistance ends now." Before Keon could respond, a sudden flash of light broke through the jungle. For a split second, the clearing was bathed in an intense blue glow that illuminated the trees and the alien's menacing form. The alien paused, its head snapping toward the source of the light. Its expression flickering with surprise. From the shadows, another figure emerged. This one was human, though unlike Keon. Their appearance was strikingly different, clad in advanced, sleek armor that gleamed in the dim light. Their helmet was reflective, obscuring their face, but the way they moved spoke volumes. The figure moved with purpose and confidence, stepping into the clearing with an almost unnerving calmness. The alien's eyes narrowed. "You're not supposed to be here," it hissed, its voice filled with anger and disbelief. "How did you?" But before the alien could finish, the new arrival raised a hand, cutting the alien off. "You're not in control here anymore." The voice was mechanical, filtered through the helmet, but the authority was clear. The stranger's words rang out like an order, final, unyielding. "This is over." Keon's heart skipped a beat. The sudden appearance of this figure was unexpected, an ally. But who were they? How did they know to come here? Keon's mind raced, trying to piece together what was happening. But the alien was already reacting, its rage building at the audacity of the interruption. "Do you have any idea who you're speaking to?" the alien snarled, its pet growling low in its throat, clearly unsettled by the sudden appearance of the armored figure. "You're nothing but a pest. Leave now, or I'll make you regret it." The stranger didn't flinch. Instead, they raised their other hand, and the clearing was filled with a brilliant flash of light. A blast of energy shot from their gauntlet, striking the alien's pet. The creature howled in pain, stumbling back as the energy hit it. The force wasn't enough to destroy the beast, but it was more than enough to cause it to pause, confused and disoriented. Keon watched in awe, their breath catching as the alien's pet staggered, clearly struggling against the energy blast. This person wasn't just a simple alive. They were a force to be reckoned with, a kind of power Keon had only heard about in stories. "Who are you?" Keon asked, their voice barely a whisper as they took a cautious step forward. Still wary of the sudden appearance of the stranger, the figure turned, the reflective helmet catching the light for a moment, revealing nothing but a dark silhouette. "I'm someone who's been keeping an eye on you," the voice responded coolly. "Someone who believes your survival is important." The alien, now fuming with rage, stepped forward. "You think you can stop me? You think you can stand in my way? I'll wipe you out just as easily as I'll wipe out this human. I'll wipe out this human. Defies me." The stranger's voice remained calm, unfazed by the alien's threats. "You've underestimated me, and you've underestimated this human. I'm not here to play games, alien. I'm here to end this." In one swift motion, the stranger extended their arm again, and another blast of energy shot out, this time aimed directly at the alien. The alien dodged, but the force of the blast still grazed its shoulder, causing it to stumble backward. had clearly not anticipated such a strong counterattack. Keon's mind was spinning. Who was this person? And why were they so certain they could take on an alien of this power? The stranger took a few steps toward Keon, their movements precise and calculated. This might get dangerous, they said, their voice surprisingly gentle despite the intensity of the battle. But I'm here to help. You need to trust me. I've been watching you for a while, and I know what's at stake. The alien, now visibly enraged, swung its pet back into action, the beast charging toward the stranger. But before it could strike, the stranger raised their hand again, this time creating a shield of energy that shimmered around them. The pet slammed into the shield, recoiling as the energy crackled with power. It let out an angry growl, but it couldn't break through. Keon watched in amazement as the stranger moved with precision, controlling the energy around them effortlessly. The shield held strong, and with a swift gesture, the stranger deflected the pet's next attack, sending the beast stumbling back once more. Keon's thoughts raced. "Who are you?" they repeated, this time with more urgency. "Why are you helping me?" The stranger paused, their voice softening for a brief moment. "Because you have something that's far more important than you realize," they said quietly. "That pendant you're wearing's part of something much larger. Something bigger than the alien you're facing, bigger than anything you've encountered. And I've been sent to make sure you're safe." Keon blinked in disbelief. "You mean ... It's not just a weapon? There's more to it?" The stranger nodded slowly, their tones serious. "Much more. But right now, we need to get you out of here. We don't have much time." Before Keon could process the stranger's words, the alien roared, its pet charging again, even more furious than before. But the stranger was ready. With a flick of their wrist, the energy shield around them expanded, pushing the beast back once more. The alien's rage-filled eyes met Keon's, and for the first time, Keon could see the fear real, genuine fear in the alien's expression. The tables had turned. Keon realized then that the stranger wasn't just an ally. They were the key to understanding everything that had been happening. The pendant, the alien's relentless pursuit, unexpected help, it was all leading to something much larger than a simple fight for survival. And with this new ally at their side, Keon knew one thing for certain: the battle was far from over. Then now, they might have a chance to uncover the truth behind it all. The clearing buzzed with tension as the alien, now fully aware of the shifting power dynamics, stepped back. The once unstoppable force that had cornered Keon now seemed unsure, hesitant. The creature's pet, snarling and snapping at the energy shield, had been forced into retreat, its massive body brimming with frustration. The alien, towering and full of rage, found itself in a rare position. It was losing control. And that was something it could not stand. Keon felt the weight of the moment. The mysterious figure beside them, clad in their sleek armor, was unwavering. With each movement, they exuded quiet power and unspoken promise that they were not just here to fight, they were here to win. The alien's tantrum was like the last attempt of a dying star, burning fiercely, but fading fast. "You think you can defeat me?" the alien spat, its voice low and venomous. "You think your little tricks will save you from the power I wield? I will make sure this ends in blood, your blood." Keon stood their ground, no longer intimidated. The alien's threats, once terrifying, now seemed hollow in the face of the stranger's unwavering strength. "We're not here to take your life," Keon said, their voice steady and filled with purpose. "We're here to stop you from destroying everything else." The alien laughed bitterly. "You think you can stop me? You, a single human with nothing but a pendant and a few lucky moments? You're weak. You have no idea what I'm capable of. What this universe is capable of." Keon glanced at the stranger who had been silently observing the alien's outbursts. The stranger gave a slight nod, their armored figure readying for what was to come. "You're mistaken," the stranger said, their voice calm but carrying a weight of finality. "The real mistake is thinking that power is something you can control. The moment you lost sight of that is the moment you sealed your fate." The alien's eyes flickered with uncertainty for just a moment, long enough for Keon to notice was something about the alien's demeanor now, something more desperate, more vulnerable. that it had ever shown before. Keon didn't know if it was the fear of being outmatched, or if it was the realization that the universe wasn't as it had once seemed, but there was no going back. The pet, still struggling against the shield, howled in frustration, but it wasn't enough to overcome the power the stranger was commanding. The alien's eyes darted between its pet and Keon, the weight of the situation crashing down on it. "This ends now," the alien hissed, its voice trembling with a mix of anger and fear. With a swift motion, it reached toward its chest, drawing forth a dark, glowing orban artifact, unlike any Keon had seen before. The orb pulsed with a malevolent energy, the power radiating from it palpable in the air. "I will not be defeated." "By you," the alien snarled, clutching the orb in its hand. "I'll destroy you all with the power of this my final weapon." Keon's eyes narrowed. They recognized it. The orb was a conduit for an unimaginable power, a force capable of tearing apart entire planets if used recklessly. But Keon also realized one thing. The alien's greatest strength, its power, was also its greatest weakness. It was too reliant on the orb, too dependent on its overwhelming energy to control everything. That was something Keon could exploit. The stranger's hand twitched, their armor humming with energy as they prepared for the inevitable. Keon stepped forward, their heart pounding, but their resolve steady. "You're not the only one with power," they said, holding up the pendant, the key to everything. "And this pendant is the key to your defeat." The alien's laugh was shaky, but it was still full of venom. "You think that piece of jewelry can stop me? You think that little thing could possibly match the might of this?" It raised the orb high, the dark energy swirling around it, threatening to consume everything in its path. The stranger's voice cut through the air like a knife. "It's not the pendant that makes you dangerous. It's what you believe about it." With a swift motion, the stranger activated a pulse of energy from their gauntlet, directing it toward the alien. The blast hit the orb, sending a shockwave of light and sound that rocked the clearing. The alien staggered, its grip on the orb faltering as the power of the energy pulse destabilized its hold. The orb flickered, its dark energy swirling erratically, as though it were no longer under the alien's control. Keon didn't wait. In one quick motion, they lunged toward the alien, the pendant now glowing with a soft, radiant light in their hand. They reached for the orb, their fingers grazing its surface, and in that instant, the world seemed to slow down. The orb, once filled with destructive energy, now pulsed in harmony with the pendant. Keon could feel the power coursing through them, the connection between the two artifacts undeniable. The alien watched in horror as the pendant's light enveloped the orb, absorbing its energy, redirecting it, neutralizing the chaos. "No," the alien screamed, but it was too late. The dark energy that had once threatened to tear apart everything around them was now gone, absorbed into the pendant, leaving nothing but stillness in its wake. The alien fell to its knees, defeated, as its pet whimpered in confusion, now free. From the alien's control, the alien's power had evaporated, its weapon rendered useless. Keon stood tall, the pendant in their hand now glowing with a soft, steady light. The stranger, standing beside them, nodded in approval. The battle was over, but the weight of what had just transpired hung heavy in the air. The alien, once a powerful force, now lay broken and defeated before them. "You've done it," the stranger said, their voice filled with a quiet respect. "But this isn't the end. It's only the beginning. The universe is full of forces much greater than the alien we just faced. And there are others who will come after you. The pendant is not just a weapon, it's a key, and you'll need to protect it." Keon nodded, their grip tightening around the pendant. They had survived this trial, but they knew the journey ahead would be anything but simple. The universe was vast, and the secrets within the pendant were just beginning to unfold. But for now, they had one, and that was enough. The clearing, once filled with tension and chaos, was now silent. The alien lay defeated, and the pet, no longer a threat, slunk back into the shadows. And Keon, standing beside their unexpected ally, looked ahead, ready for whatever would come next.